Hello, my name is Lori Haight, and I serve as the Career Services Coordinator at the School of Information and Library Science at UNC Chapel Hill. And I'm delighted to welcome you today to our April Amazon visit. And I'd like to have the panelists be able to introduce themselves and give us a brief overview, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. So Joey, I'll kick it over to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori, and thanks for having us. My name is Joey Hartman, and I'm a senior manager at Amazon in our grocery measurement and retention space. And so our team is focused on how to retain our customers so they come back and shop with us more frequently on our online and in-store channels, and how to properly measure the high value actions they take with us. Like as an example, shopping with Whole Foods online for the first time, or shopping with Amazon Fresh for the first time. And so I'll give a little bit of context on our grocery business, since we've got a good amount of grocery representation here. Amazon, we've been in the grocery business for the last 10 years, but we've kind of accelerated our growth over the last few years. We acquired Whole Foods in 2017. We've been building out Amazon Fresh physical stores, and we've been accelerating our online grocery business. So in the US, that's primarily Amazon Fresh and Whole Foods. We also have a handful of other third-party grocers that we support, as well as international. And so our team supports those businesses. Gizem, do you want to go next?
Sure, I can go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Gizem Keveslar. I'm an applied science manager in the same space as Joey. So I'm thankful that he actually introduced his space so that I don't have to. My team actually owns optimization models to decide on how much inventory we should buy at, several places in our supply chain. So, in the back of every retailer where you go to buy your stuff, there's a whole supply chain that is actually working to get the products available to the customers. So we are in that back end, and we're working on basically deciding how much we should buy. And I have a small team of 4 scientists. We're working on several problems in that space.
I can go next. I work closely with Gizem, so I think it's a nice lead-in. I'm a product manager, and I previously was working with Gizem on how do we forecast for what customer demand will be, and then how does that influence how we optimize our network. And I just recently moved to a new role in the pharmacy space, where I'll focus on the speed of delivery and how do we get medications to our customers quickly and efficiently.
I'll go next. I also work closely with Gizem. I am a recruiter for the organization, and we, at least I own the cross-domain applied research and data science hiring for physical stores and the Fresh Food Fast Grocery organization. So across all of our different business verticals, there's a lot of research being done that ranges from the computer vision, hardware research, to the operations research, inventory optimization, demand forecasting. So a lot of great research being done across the organization in all different facets, and it's really great to be a part of it all.
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Aditya Verma. I'm a data scientist, and I've been working with Amazon for almost 4 years now. Joey explained, and I work with Joey, so I'm in his team. And good thing he already went through what our team does. I'll tell you what, as a scientist, I try to assess and measure performances of our system, solve ambiguous problem from a science perspective, and yeah.
Awesome. So that's our group. We've put together a few questions, but we'd also love to hear from the students to understand, who our audience is, and what you're interested in talking about and learning about, so we can tailor the discussion towards some of the students' questions as well. So I'm happy to start, asking our team questions just to get the ball rolling, but we'd very much love for this to be interactive and for the students to chime in. Laura, you may have, pre-planned questions as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask what people's experience was with getting into Amazon. I know that through the introduction, several of you have had several different roles in Amazon. So that's a great sign of mobility within, but I was just interested how you got to Amazon.
Awesome. Anna, let's start with you because you are the expert in resumes standing out and recruiting and interview preparation. I know Amazon offers a lot of good external content for candidates to prep. You want to just talk us through this process?
Yeah, so really with a lot of different roles, of course, the first step is the resume or kind of talking to someone that is within the company. A lot of the questions that I get, especially from the world of academia or coming from a graduate program or undergrad program, is if I'm interviewing or if I'm applying for a position that other people from the industry are also interested in, how do I get my resume, how do I get my experience to stand out, especially if it might be limited in the industry sense. I usually say that the invent and simplify leadership principle here really stands out, where there's no need to have the cover letter or focus to throwing the buzzwords in, or a lot of times I hear, oh, I need to keep it under one page. I mean, this is definitely, other companies might differ in what they're looking for, but for Amazon and from my experience, being able to really quantify and provide details to internship experiences or project work, publications, basically having the details of what your contributions were and your impact speak for themselves. And so even with that, as you're working through your resume, providing these details, you can even get creative of adding technical reports or different tech talks or conference talks that you've been a part of, especially in the technical or research space. That is something that's highly valued. Awards and scholarships or fellowships that are specifically related to the field. Even press coverage, if some of your research was in a newspaper or even like a school newspaper, all of that is highly valuable and significant to show. And then mentorship experience where you mentored someone really shows the leadership ability that you're able to help others grow their own career, grow their own space. So essentially that the resume should be pretty standalone, descriptive, data-driven, really focusing on that impact piece, the results that you've driven forth. And then that leads into the interview process where after going through all of these details, you'll be able to use that as kind of a baseline to talk about the different things that you've worked on, especially with a lot of behavioral questions we have. Having a strong resume is a good starting point to be able to then articulate these things in a behavioral leadership principle type of discussion.
I shared a few links in the Zoom chat for the students to take a look at. Laura, could you remind me, are we talking to mainly undergraduate students or graduate students or both?
Both signed up. I think there's a variety on the call. So yes, we have our undergraduate Bachelor of Science in Information Science program, and then we have a Master of Science in Information Science program.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Aditya, do you want to walk us through your interview process at Amazon? I think it's unique because you started as a business intelligence engineer, so you could just talk a little bit about what that job description and what that works like, and then you also transitioned to become a data scientist, which is quite an accomplishment in itself. So if you could kind of just walk us through those three steps of your career, that'd be awesome for the students to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So let's. I'll start with a little bit with my background and how I got into Amazon. I was a grad student of industrial engineering at actually NC State. I got introduced to the field of mathematical modeling and data science in the second year of my grad school. Data science looked very exciting. One, because it was multidisciplinary and there were so many cool new research going on in that space. So I wanted to head towards that direction in my career. And as a grad school, without any experience in the industry, I had very limited experience of working with huge amount of data. But I had this skill set of statistics and linear regressions and mathematical modeling, optimization, along with these computer scripting languages or SQL or handling data kind of experience. And I wanted to see where it fits perfectly in a role. And Amazon BIE roles, which is a decision-making using data kind of role, data-driven role, seemed perfect to me. And I started applying. I got an interview call around the time I graduated. The interview process is rigorous but fun. Like you start with phone screenings and the loop, then after you clear those phone screening, you go through a loop where you talk to different people. I always felt like that it's fun if you keep it interactive. You feel like you're talking to the interviewer. You also ask questions, follow-up questions, as does the interviewer. So both of you are getting to know each other and assessing whether Amazon is a perfect fit for you and this role is perfect fit for you. At the same time, Amazon is also seeing if you are the good fit for the role. So yeah, I got in as a BIE in Amazon, and since then I've worked with 3 different businesses, whether it be scheduling airplane in Amazon Air or building Alexa utterances, or now working with grocery. And when I was here, I made this transition from BIE to data scientist because that was my my vision to get to start with. And Amazon felt like the perfect space to give me that opportunity move from BIE to data scientist. And Amazon has this amazing machine learning university where you can learn more about machine learning and other related stuff. So it helped me a lot, along with people who were working me, who encouraged me to make this decision as well.
Awesome. And so Gizem, I come to you every week with recruiting matters and questions, and how are we going to, find the right, science folks and the different types of disciplines. Talk to us through some of the science recruiting you do, the type of projects that you're hiring for, and maybe frame it a little bit within the leadership principles to help the students understand how the leadership principles are such a key component of the recruiting and the culture here.
Sure. So I work really closely with Anna, who's a great person. If you guys have any questions or like looking for jobs, like talk to her. Cannot emphasize enough how good she is at what she's doing. So one, talk to Anna is definitely where I start with. But the essence of like what type of roles do we have at Amazon and how do we hire, or as a manager, when I see resumes, what do I look at? So it will depend on the team and the position. We are, as Joey mentioned and Anna mentioned, that we have these leadership principles that are available online that you can see, that we hire to, and we expect people to come with some of that, or we look for people who can actually raise the bar in, like, when they work at Amazon. All of what we do is framed by those principles. We actually, it's like, it looks from the outside that they're just like kind of rules, but it's really is in the bone of Amazon, that's how we work, that's how we think. After working at Amazon for 7 years, that's actually how I interact with people in my private life also. I have a bunch of friends at Amazon that we, say like, oh, like this is, we're trying to go to some place, and if someone drops the ball, we're like, this is not, good ownership. So that, leadership principles is just like creates this cohesion at work, and you have a map on how you're gonna actually what is expected of you. So that's actually pretty cool in the sense that you're not very much lost in, okay, what should I do? You can go back to that map and look, okay, in this situation, well, I have like leadership principles guide me to do this. So That's definitely a big one. There's also the second side of it is the technical competencies. For science type of job family, so we have very many different analytics roles at Amazon. We have business intelligence engineering, which also in itself, there's this analytics roles, and there's more like a, reporting, metricing, business intelligence engineering. But there's also the side that there's like finding stories in data, bridging, if he's bridging those metrics, understanding how systems, interact with each other, like through data is sometimes what business intelligence engineers do. We have data engineering, where you actually are like pipelining all the data that we have, which is for some businesses is quite large. And that is like in the, it's getting closer to software engineering. You need to be able to like understand the big data technologies and, be able to build data pipelines. And then when it comes to science job families, we have different also roles in there, where some of them just requires, breadth and, multiple fields, like knowing methodologies, having a toolbox, and being able to apply the right tool to the right problem. These usually come from operations research, statistics, machine learning, and then we have other job like families, or like kind of different type of data science roles, where we are looking for a deep expertise in one of those topics, that you actually not only know the tool, but you can modify the tool to solve the problem. So between these technical competencies and the leadership principles is how we make the decisions.
Yeah, and I would encourage students who are interested in working at Amazon to get really well versed in those leadership principles. That is what the interview process is structured around. That is what daily work dialogue is structured around. Performance reviews, promotion. It's the glue that enables senior leaders to talk to junior folks, or product managers to talk to engineers or scientists. And if you look through some of them, some of the key, they're all important at different stages of your career, but something like earns trust or customer obsession. It's hard to get in the door here and stay without earning trust. And you can read about what that means, and it's fairly self-explanatory, but your colleagues need to trust you, trust your commitments that you're going to get done. And customer obsession is kind of Amazon 101, with you start with the customer and work backwards. Everything we're doing here is customer obsessed, and there's plenty of science and analytics and product work behind that, but that's the idea behind some of these concepts. Cool. So that's about kind of getting in the door here and recruiting. Is there kind of a next topic that the students are interested in chatting about?
I had another question. I'll jump in and then make sure that the students also have time. So a lot of times we talk about when you're a new professional, that it might be more important to find an organization that you have a sense of, this is where I'd like to work, and the role may not be as important going in. It could be that there's a lot of movement. Anna talked about the verticals. Is the Amazon culture that once you're an internal worker, that there's movement between those verticals, or is it more important that you want to kind of land in a place that you see yourself growing if you're staying?
I'll take that one, just because I've moved a bunch of different functions. Josh, I know we still need to come to you, but I think you've been a pretty pure product manager. So it's certainly the former, Lori, which is, I would encourage any student to get in the door here however they can. And then you're encouraged to rotate and to try new jobs and new parts of the company and new functions. I think, I kid around with some of my old grad school buddies who went into consulting. It was because they didn't know what they wanted to do, and they wanted to try all these, diverse experiences. I'd argue that we actually get to do the same thing at Amazon, but then we get to execute and see our ideas come to life and deliver benefits and value for customers. So just, my experience, which is, not that unique, one of many. I started here as a vendor manager, which is in our retail business, managing the vendor relationships, buying, supporting, their business. I switched over to product manager, which we'll talk to Josh about in a bit. That's a very core function here that drives the strategy and the vision. Then I switched to a program manager, which is more of a facilitator role and a cross-functional role, into now, people manager. So I've been here 5 years with 4 very distinct roles. So I would absolutely encourage students to figure out, put their best foot forward to get in the door here if they're interested. And then the opportunities are endless across grocery or pharmacy or Alexa or AWS or Kindle. There's a variety of business verticals and a variety of functions that the students can tackle. Cool. Any questions from the students?
Yes, I have one. So in regards to like getting in the door or getting to a company, so how do you, or what are your suggestions or recommendations for competing against other competitors who may have more experience than you, whether it's like internship or getting a job out of college? So how do you get a company or a recruiter to take a chance with you despite your lack of experience?
Anna, I think you're probably the best person to answer that question.
I think to be honest, I think that the hard part is if there are others that are, within the same experience as you, that might have 1 or 2 extra data points on their internship experiences or, things like that. And I think admittedly, I think there's a level of chance, but also making sure you're getting yourself out there, applying for the roles that you really feel like are a match for your skills completely, or that your resume can speak for itself to say, all these things that I've delivered, or all of these impacts that I've made, projects that I've worked on are exactly what this position is describing, or is close to the focus of that position. And from my experience, I came from grad school completely different than what I'm doing now, and the recruiter at the time took a chance on me, and ever since it was a very fortunate and great opportunity that helped me build my career here. So there's a bit of chance, which isn't the best answer, but I think having that show your strengths show through your resume will really help as much as possible.
Yeah, just to piggyback that, I think the concept of the leadership principles is that they're transferable. And so, through your resume bullets and also, through your phone screen or your interview, you're sharing stories about, your early work experience or your school experience and how you problem solve. And the idea is that, dive deep as a leadership principle. You're demonstrating with your stories within your resume that you're able to dive deep or deliver results. And those are transferable skills to the role that you're talking to, the recruiter or the team about at Amazon. So it's really honing your stories in a structured manner that demonstrate those competencies and those leadership principles, those technical proficiencies that'll be transferable to the role that you're seeking. Cool. Other questions from Gizem, go ahead.
Can I add a few things to it?
Please.
So my own experience is also I always wanted to work at Amazon. I visited, Seattle before when I was in grad school, and I was seeing all the Amazonians around. I'm like, one day I want to work for this company. But I had my reasons. I was doing a PhD in operations research, and Amazon was one of the best companies who had the opportunity, the dream job that I had. And what I've done throughout my career was actually build my resume, build myself for that job. It was because of 2 things. One, I wanted to that was my dream job. And then Amazon, I wanted to, work at Amazon. I actually applied for internships, didn't get it. So it's really sometimes hard to when you throw your resume into a large pool, then you're very outside, you don't know how things work. You just ship that resume and then wait for someone to call back. So what my advice is, do not stop, keep going at it. Find what you want to do. And if you see positions like that at Amazon that's of interest to you, send your resume to Amazon, figure out find out recruiters, reach out to them. If it doesn't happen, go for another internship, volunteer, get some experience, keep going at it, keep trying to, find relevant experiences, building that resume. Don't give up. I want to emphasize that if it didn't happen for the first time, it doesn't mean that it will never happen. So, and as you go through this process, you're also learning a lot about interviewing, writing a better resume. I'm sure the school is providing you all of some resources, some help with that. Utilize that to the fullest. I cannot emphasize how much that will help. And 2 points, one, get, how to make your resume shine, how you can communicate in interviews. That's really big. And then at the same time, build that resume. So that's one of the advice that I remember. It's been a while since I've done this, but at least my experience, it can work out.
Yeah, one point to add to that. So, the resume should be very structured and results oriented. I think context, action, results, or the STAR format: situation, task, action, results. But then also when you're communicating with phone screeners or interviewers, that type of structure is critical, because the interviewer is asking you questions and they're tracking your answers, and the more structured and linear you are in your explanation of your story, the more you're able to highlight what you did specifically and what you delivered, what those results were, the better you're positioning yourself. So +1 on focusing on the resume, but also on the stories, the 5 to 7 stories that you're going to tell that demonstrate transferable skills to highlight your strengths.
I have
Joey,
a question.
oh,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
This is actually based off of something that Joey was saying earlier, but then also Aditya in your transition from BIE to data science, and Joey in your transition from vendor manager to people manager. Aside from the fundamentals that you gained through education, do you feel like the skill set you acquired was gained through the job, the position itself, or rather you came in with knowing what you need to know for those roles?
Aditya, do you want to start?
So to your question, whether I gained those on the job, whether I had those skills, the answer is, I think both. I'll explain. So the fundamental strength that first I want to point out that BIE, which is business intelligence engineer, and data scientist, is kind of an overlapping role where we have this statistical skill set that is being used, as well as a few of the technical skill sets that's being used in both the roles. So there was a foundation that I already have, and then I built on that foundation in Amazon, where I learned new tools which may be specific to Amazon, not specific to Amazon. I do want to point out that Amazon is really, really open about you choosing your way to solve the problem, and then reviewing it through your peers so that they make sure the work you have done is technically sound. So you go in and somebody, maybe your manager, maybe your peers, they tell you about a problem that, hey, maybe we need to fix this problem. And then your brain starts working as how I can solve this problem. And you make your framework, you go to your peers and managers and you review with them. Maybe you throw in a new skill set that on the way you learn as well. And there are so many smart Amazonians around you working on different kind of skill sets and problem. Even if you don't put in extra effort, you would still learn a lot. And that's the fun part of this job. As for the BIE role, when you're coming from school or outside the industry, I always suggest anyone who asks me for interview advice is focus on the basics. Amazon might be using a different tool to perform this task, but the core itself, for example, for ETL data data aggregation or data manipulation, many people use SQL. Amazonians want you to know the SQL. They don't care about whether you run it in this platform or that platform, or be very specific. So it's the core knowledge that we gain in school or performing, doing different projects, that we are looking for, that analytical skill. Over to you, Joey.
Yeah, I'll just add to that a bit. I've been learning on the job as I've continued to rotate. And so one of the very underrated leadership principles here is learn and be curious. And Aditya alluded to it a bunch, but on the job training, there's a lot of content and internal trainings at Amazon. I get to work with a network of really smart people that are way smarter than me. Like, as an example, I'm now in a science manager role. I don't know much about managing or hiring scientists. That's why I'm bugging Gizem 3 times a week on, what scientists we should be recruiting and how we should pursue them and how we should scope their jobs, because I don't know these things. I'm now tasked with learning this quickly to get up to speed. And I think that's really the beauty of this company is there's distributed ownership. No matter your level, you're expected to take on a lot of work, and you're expected to problem solve and figure out how to figure it out. Josh, I think you have a good example. You've been a product manager, a technical product manager in our grocery space, and you recently just moved over to our pharmacy team. And so consistent with the function, but a whole new business. So I imagine there is quite a steep ramp in learning the nuances to the pharmacy team. Will you talk us through that transition a bit?
Yeah, sure. And actually, I can maybe refer to 2 transitions. Before I came to Amazon, I was a data scientist, and I transitioned into a product manager role. And so if you're not sure what a product manager does, I think maybe the quickest way to say it is you're just obsessed with, are we solving the right problem? And so you're constantly looking at data, talking to customers, figuring out if all the investment we're making from an engineering and science side, from a business side, is that actually the problem we should be solving? Or, have things changed? Have we discovered new things? So I transitioned from a science role into a product manager role. One of my favorite things that I've noticed that's similar across them. So there's some things you pick up. As a data scientist, you have an objective function or a loss function, right? That you're optimizing for that constantly. As a product manager, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm figuring out what is that metric I'm trying to get as high as possible or as low as possible, and all decisions kind of revolve around that. That is something that, yeah, if you can start to bridge the gaps, look at what you've done and see, we're all solving problems, and whether you're solving it as a data scientist or the product manager, in the end result, right, we're all focused on the same priorities. As I've transitioned now as like a product manager from grocery to pharmacy, it's the same thing, right? I had to quickly ramp up on what matters to our pharmacy customers. What I found is it's really similar to what matters to our grocery customers, right? You want speed, you want convenience, you want low prices, and you want to feel secure in the product you're getting, your medication, the food you're feeding your family with. All of that is what matters to our customers, and it's been really neat to see that, right? It can be overwhelming. There's so many acronyms at Amazon. There's so many people moving at really fast speed, researching things I really don't understand, but it always comes back to, as people are mentioning, like those leadership principles. So I'm able to frame a lot of the research, a lot of the I guess problems we're looking at, to say like, okay, if we're having bias for action, or if we're being customer obsessed, what's the right next step here? So I think that's really what's helped me, is grounding myself in what we're all, the common language, the common problems, and then making sure everyone's on the same page as we move.
Awesome. Other questions from the students, or Lori or Ann, or anyone?
I had 2 comments and a question while people are thinking. Gizem, I really appreciate you telling your story. I think that in the career counseling space, we get dinged all the time if we only bring in superheroes, and then it's kind of like students think like, well, I'm not a superhero, so thank you very much. So the human side of your story I think is very important to share. So I appreciate that. And Joey, thank you for mentioning the star stories. We talk about that all the time. And I think sometimes people think we're making it up, and it's lovely to see such a flourishing organization depend on that as a way to just get your data nugget across in a short amount of time that's complete. My question was, is there, what do you think is the percentage of jobs at Amazon that are function heavy, where like Josh was talking about, it's the same role but different businesses, and how much are more content heavy, where you need to be whatever that expertise is?
I'm happy to take a stab at this, unless Anna, you've got a better answer ready to go.
I'll let you take the lead on that.
Okay, I don't have the data, so this is going to be purely what I think. I'm hopefully going to be right partially on this, but I think there are, there's domain and functional expertise. To be any type of scientist or economist, you're going to require very technical functional expertise. So I'm not going to be able to go get an economist job tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. But then we do have a lot of generalist skill sets and functions. So the whole retail business, vendor manager, product manager, marketing manager, program manager, these are generalist skill sets. Obviously, when you get to, the more technical side of it, when you become a technical product manager, yes, you need to, understand infrastructure and architecture and engineering. So that is a technical competency, but there are a number of jobs here at Amazon, hundreds of thousands that are generalist type jobs. And then there are plenty of specialized jobs as well. That's a generic answer, but anyone want to jump in there or add a little more color?
I'd be happy to add on. And I think just goes to Lori, your point of adding in kind of the human side. So when I was interviewing, so my husband, he matched to UW. We lived in Florida at the time. I worked at a theme park. It was super cool, but we had to move to Seattle. If you know anything about the hospital residency matching process, you just get assigned to a city and you have to move in 3 months. So obviously I was super excited to have the opportunity to apply to Amazon. I submitted a bunch of applications. Luckily, one of them landed. I submitted, I don't know how many, probably too many, probably annoyed. If Anna, you were looking at my resume, you're probably tired of looking at it, but I got one interview and I was super thrilled about it. I went through the process, prepared, I did the leadership principles, STAR, all of that stuff. And the outcome, and I don't know how much, I don't know the exact mechanics of interviewing, but there's a process where you have kind of a question like, do you meet or do you raise the bar for Amazon? And so if you raise the bar for Amazon, that's kind of like you're better than who we have currently. I made it through that question. Essentially, the interviewer said, yes, we think that you bring a lot to the organization, but you don't really fit for the role that we thought you would when we started this process. So they gave me an opportunity to see if there's other roles out there. So I think that goes back to that question of, I think Amazon has leadership principles, and do you meet those? And do you really embody those? And then there's an opportunity to then maybe find the right fit. And so I think it was maybe 2 months of me anxiously waiting, we found a role that really fit. I got to talk to the team, and that's how I landed in the grocery space. So I think that's something cool to hear too, is Amazon is really focused on finding the right people, the builders for the company. And then they'll also, hopefully work with you to find the right role where you can drive value.
Awesome. Other questions?
Can I add something to that? So one of the things that I want to add to that, when you are looking at a specific role in Amazon, let's say scientist or product manager, those roles can be applied on various different business cases. And some are, for example, research scientists in Amazon can be an operation research scientist, machine learning scientist, or an aerodynamics or robotics scientist. So definitely read through the description and see what kind of area or business or science problem you'll be working on. And if that relates well with your resume and your past experiences, that would make it a perfect match. And like your resume, chances of your resume getting picked up is always definitely higher. But saying all that, there's still a basic generic skill sets for scientists that still qualifies you for many different teams, whether it be different research areas.
Awesome. Okay, other questions? Awesome. Well, we shared some very helpful links in the Zoom chat about the Amazon interview process. I see Josh just added a link about raising the bar and new hires. We have this process in Amazon called the bar raising process, where interviewers are trained in interviewing to come in and be kind of an independent voice in the interview process. So if you're interviewing for a role in the grocery team, one of your interviewers is going to be an independent Amazonian outside of the grocery team, responsible for bar raising the interview. And the concept here is that hiring managers are generally very busy and have a lot of work on their plate. And if they can't fill their heads, that work's not getting done. And so sometimes there's an urgency to hire to get the work done, but we need to consistently make sure that we're raising the bar. And the concept there is that in general, the folks that come into this company at a certain level are already, stronger than half the people at that level, meaning that we're constantly raising the talent bar here, so the company continues to get better and more innovative and launch better products and features for customers. So this is Amazon, working at Amazon 101. It's been really nice to chat with this group. I think Anna, who's one of our primary recruiters, is happy to share her email address with this group should students want to connect offline. Anna, do you want to just ping your alias in the Zoom chat?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, on behalf of SILS, I definitely want to thank the Amazon team that came today. Joey, Anna, Adita, Gazim, and Josh. That was wonderful to hear from you, just from the variety of perspectives and just to get a little bit more about Amazon 101. That was very helpful. Thank you for your time today.
Awesome. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.